exposure to it at the minute, but I do like it as a project, yeah. Okay, I think we're live. Sweet. Let's see if we're live now. Morning from Texas. Hi Texas. Crypto Live. How you doing, bro? XRP on discount. Yeah, very bearish right now. You can see Bitcoin going down to 30k. I can't see that, bro. I really can't see that. I know that. I don't even think TA can show that. I don't even think it does. I think TA shows that we've got a big amount of like buying pressure coming in anywhere in and around the like 38,000 region. We haven't dipped below that, and we're still setting higher lows. I don't think it's showing we come down to 30k at all. Mate, how much is it going to carry on dropping like this before we make some real gains? Realistically, no one knows, bro. The geopolitical landscape is really affecting everything at the minute, in my opinion. But I'm going to get into everything I want to talk about now. I know you guys obviously have a lot of questions and stuff, but I am live over on YouTube. I'm going to be sharing my screen so you guys can see what charts I'm looking at. I've got some videos I want to share with you and some other things. So let me just quickly get my YouTube settings open. Hello to everyone on YouTube. Cool. Right. So I've got so much to get into today. Like, I can't believe everything's sort of... I've literally got a list on my whiteboard up here. This all that's an absolute mess, so just don't try and read it. But I'm going to get through as much of that as I can. Welcome to everyone to my live. Sorry about that crap start. You'll see me looking here, you'll see me looking here, but we're going to just try and dive into as much content as I can, and I'm going to try and help you guys out with my thought processes and my opinions, exactly what's going on right now. Obviously, it's all my own opinion, not financial advice, guys, but we've got so much to get into that I think it's best that we just dive straight into it. Can anyone just confirm, is the audio going well? Are we buying the dip or crying a river? I'm buying the dip, bro. Well, I would be if I had any cash, but I don't. Hi, guys, on TikTok. I am live over on YouTube. I'm sharing my screen there because I want to show you guys the charts that I'm looking at. I also have some different videos and some different clips I want to talk about to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. But how is everybody? I'm all good. If I'm a bit slow interacting, it's because I'm trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. Mark Williams, hello YouTube. How are we all doing? Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Let's just get into it. So I'm going to be talking. My interactions may be low, but I just want to, as I said, get as much information out there as I can about what I'm thinking right now. So we're going to first start off with some structural things with Bitcoin in terms of TA. We've got higher lows forming. If we take Bitcoin to the daily, is my audio all right on YouTube first? Is one thing I just want to ask, and I'll just interact with TikTok for a quick second. Well, it happens. Right, I've got a bit of a cold as well, so I've got myself a nice little lemsip in my cup here. If you are tuned in on YouTube or TikTok, please share this because I've got loads that I'm going to go through today, and I do think all this information is going to be pretty good. So what we're going to cover is the state of the crypto market. We're going to try... TikTok audio is fine, thank you. Crypto's in. I'll try and actually point this at my screen, but I don't know if that's going to help. So it's going to be hard for me to interact with TikTok as well. Please say your XRP is going to be fine. So I'm going to put it here. So you're just going to be able to see me, and I'll explain what I'm looking at as well. So what we're going to cover in this video is what I think is going to happen with the crypto market. Positives for XRP, which I know a lot of people are massively negative on XRP at the minute because of especially the lawsuit that we've seen, the updates in the lawsuit. So we're going to talk about things that people might be overlooking with XRP and maybe some positivity there for you. We're also going to talk about what's happening around the world geopolitically. I'm not going to go too deep into that because that geopolitical landscape is changing so much at the minute with obviously the war. We've got lockdowns again in China causing supply chain issues. We've got the Fed and inflation, all this sort of stuff. We're going to try and leave that a bit to the back shelf because it's just changing so much. We have to keep our eye on that. It's massively important. But we're going to talk about crypto specifically. We're also going to talk about the relationship of crypto to equities, and maybe that's correlated at the minute, but is that looking to break out of that correlation? So they're the things that we're looking into today. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy, and sounds good, sounds fine, audio spot on. Okay, we're going to jump in right now and let's get on with it. So we're starting with Bitcoin on the daily. We are forming higher lows currently. We need to hold this level that we're at the minute to be forming a continued higher low. We have broken our recent swing low over there on the 18th of April. We've wicked down below today, and the ascending channel that we were in may have been violated, but let's just have a little look. We're doing all this live, so we're working together. If we work on the wicks, we could still come down a little bit further to roughly the $37,500 region. If we're just looking to wick down to that level, that's possible. For body candle closers, we have come out at the bottom of that channel, so we are looking to hold the $37,500 level. And again, we don't have to touch the bottom of the channel, never do have to do that, but we are still within that parallel channel, which ranges from, in an ascending fashion, from roughly $46,000 down to the $35,000, and currently, if we go to the bottom where we could bottom out today, $37,500, and then top out about $50,000. So structurally, we're still in that same pattern. We're looking for some volume to come in and really push us out of the bottom end of this channel. There's a lot of fear while we're down here. I seem to see in the market, when we're in the bottom end of this channel, we're extremely fearful. When we're in the top end, we're extremely bullish, whereas the price action has probably only fluctuated like 10%, which in crypto isn't much at all. And that's probably enough for Bitcoin today, because we're just taking each day as it comes technically. ETH is pretty similar. We're setting a higher low on ETH still. Again, we need to find some sort of bottom for ETH. We've set our first low here in January, the second higher low here in February, another low in March, and now if we can hold somewhere around here, it doesn't have to be this exact level, it could come down a little bit further to this support here at around $2,700, and that would be an April support. So structurally, nothing's been violated, nothing's been really broken at the minute. XRP is literally coming towards the end of the pennant that we're in at the minute. The RSIs on all these cryptos, guys, are right in the floor. On the dailies, they're pretty low, like not the lowest they've ever been, but they're down there. We're down at right now on E38 and XRP. We're down lower than that, 33. And if we take us into the 4 hourly, if the RSI is very interesting for me, I did draw a horizontal ray in there. We came down to 15.48, and the last time we were at that level on the 4 hourly was back when we had the crash on the 22nd of January, and we also tested that level on the 4th of December when we had a huge wick down. And then before that, even at our lowest points back last year in June, we didn't have the RSI as low as it is right now. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. So XRP has got really until the 6th of June to decide whether it's going to make a move up or down. Again, the volume's pretty low. We have had a bit of a volume spike in the last day or so, but it's nothing to write home about, guys. Absolutely nothing. And that is one of the reasons, actually, the first reasons that I want to talk about in regards to XRP as to why we could have some positive price action here. We could have some positive price action because we've had the worst news we could possibly have as XRP holders. Let's be completely frank. The news that we had as XRP holders is this case is going to go all the way out. Let's have a look on John Deaton's Twitter. This case is going to go all the way out until 2023, maybe even March of 2023. That's where we're looking for best case scenario, John Deaton said, March of 2023. Providing we don't get a settlement. And what we've then seen, reaction-wise from the charts, yes, today we're having a red day, but the volume isn't high. There's not a lot of people coming through and dumping XRP. I would have expected on that day that we had that news, some kind of dump for XRP with big volume of people selling off, can't take it anymore, capitulating, that's it, XRP, done, everything out the window. But that's not what we've seen. So what does that show me? It shows me that the people who are holding XRP right now are convicted holders. It doesn't even mean that some people sold and some people bought, which is what I expected would be. Is some people are going to, if the dip comes, some convicted XRP holders will buy the dip heavily. But it didn't even show that. It just showed that everyone was pretty neutral. Massive fear, and everyone was pretty neutral. And I think a very good phrase to think about right now is one from Bearable Bull that he said the other day, is that bull runs don't end in fear, they end in euphoria. And all I see around the market right now is fear. So that's something definitely want you guys to take into consideration. The price of XRP would never depend on the lawsuit. that is another point that is on my board, Mark Williams, that I want to talk about. So we're going to talk about that as well now then, Mark. We'll go straight into that point. It's on my board. So one thing that we can't prove, bear in mind, okay, all technical analysis is just using history to predict the future of prices. It's never a finite art, but it gives us our best estimates of what we can see in the future, because patterns often repeat because of human psychology, and obviously a lot of different traders trade in the same patterns, so they often repeat going forwards. That's how we can see Fibonacci extensions. That's how we can find certain highs to take profits. That's how we see resistance levels for buying and selling, because of previous price action and what's happened in history, okay? So, never in history has XRP ever been under a lawsuit. It hasn't. So how can we prove that the reason the price action is low now is because XRP or Ripple themselves, obviously in regards to XRP, are under a lawsuit? We can't prove that. Another thing you can take into consideration when you make this argument to say that the lawsuit is not necessarily affecting the price of XRP, do I think there is an element of suppression there on the price because of the lawsuit? Potentially. I think you could definitely argue there's potential. You can go to the charts and you can see when we got delisted from exchanges, that obviously brought negative sentiment into the market and made the market, the price decrease. So there is definitely some kind of argument and correlation that you can draw. But can we prove that XRP won't break all-time highs or hasn't rallied because of this lawsuit specifically? The answer to that is no. The reason that the answer to that is no is, and I'll use just one other crypto, for example, if I can find the chart for it on my watch list here. Let me find it. XLM is what I'm looking for, guys. XLM. Alright, I'll just search for it then if it's not playing ball. XLM. So this is XLM here. And as you can see, XLM, yes, it did rally percentage-wise higher than XRP, but previous all-time high for XLM was in January 2018, the 3rd of January. And we haven't broken that all-time high this cycle. Is XLM under a lawsuit? The answer is no, guys. So just on that premise alone, we can't argue that the XRP lawsuit is the only factor affecting the price of XRP. We can't. It's definitely a contribution, but is it suppressing the price? We don't know. That's the answer. So when people say things like, "Oh, XRP price won't rally to all-time highs because of the lawsuit," there is nothing backing up that statement. It's completely speculation. Just as it's speculation that the lawsuit might not be suppressing, it's just as much speculation that the lawsuit is suppressing the price. There's no historic proof to prove that that is the reason we're down. The only thing that you can say which has historic proof is that XRP moves last and fast in bull runs, and we'll go on to CoinTrader Pro and we'll show you that, because that is proof of something. Well, it's something that we can prove. So don't get too caught up in speculation. Always look at the history and the facts. And could things have changed? Yes, they can always change. As in, is this still a 4-year cycle? It's something we can talk about further, like later on in this live. We don't know. It's too early to say yes it is or no it's not. But we only will be able to confirm in hindsight what's going on now. So that's why we use TA to help us find these things. So, for example, let's have a look. And these, bear in mind, okay, crypto, every cycle has been slightly extended. So let's say the 4-year cycle lasted for 300, the bull cycle lasted for, I don't know, 50 days. These are just plucked numbers out of the sky. In 2013, it might have lasted for 75 days. In 2017, it might last for 125 in 2021. So they are definitely not to scale, those numbers, but all I'm saying is they're extended cycles when we start to hit a bullish period in the market. So let's have a look here on the weekly. How long have we consolidated for? So the all-time high from 2013 to the break of all-time high in 2017. In weeks, we had 1,200 days before we broke all-time high again from 2013 to 2017. And then from 2017, we did have a secondary pump, so it's a bit of a strange one because we had a second alt season there. And then XRP consolidated for a further 210 days before going on its parabolic run. So we had 1,200 days from the previous all-time high until the all-time high was broken. Where are we now? We are 1,575 days to break the all-time high. So what proof do we have here that the lawsuit is holding XRP below its all-time high? None. If we have a look now at Bitcoin, we'll have a look at the price action there. So we looked at 1,200 days for XRP, and now we'll look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin to USD. How long did that take to break its all-time high back from 2013 to 2017? Let's try and zoom in again. And you'll see the point I'm making in a minute, because at the minute you might be like, what point is this guy trying to make? And I can understand that. But so Bitcoin broke its all-time high in roughly the same sort of period, and look how Bitcoin rallies first, like heavily rallies, boom, all the way up here. We have, after that, we have this percentage increase for Bitcoin. Let's go from this, just to give you an idea. Within 224 days, Bitcoin rallies 1,400%. And now we're going to go back to XRP so I can actually compare that back in 2017. God, I've got a bit of a cold and it's making my mind feel absolute fog, but it is what it is. So this is back in 2017. Look, in this period here, if you compare, let me overlay the Bitcoin chart to this actually. Might be a lot easier. BTC, but it also might absolutely wreck the charts. Cool. Cool, I don't want to be doing that. Let's have a look. This is what I wanted to show you, but I don't know why it won't. Can I get this logarithmic? Okay, is that gonna show what I want to show? Maybe. This is the area that I'm interested in, guys. This. So we've got the previous high in 2013 where XRP was at 0.05, so 5 cents. That was the highest we got in 2013. Then we came all the way down in 2017 and we're at 0.06 cents. And then in the space of 3 weeks, we rally up to 5 cents again. So that's like a 10x more, 15x-ish. And then we obviously come down and we sit at this level for quite a while, like, don't know, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then have a secondary rally up towards 30 cents. And then again, we accumulate for a long period, 5 months, 6 months, and then have a final push up to $3.75. It's between $3.20 and $3.80, depending on what exchange you're looking at. So that means that in a total of 296 days, we moved 64,000% for XRP. Okay, so in a year's period, we moved 64,000%, undisputed, right here on the charts for XRP. For Bitcoin, in that same time period, we moved. In 400 days, we moved 3,500%. So XRP moved 10 times what Bitcoin's move was. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Bitcoin slowly grinds up. Look at the difference between this move to this move for XRP. When Bitcoin moves, it grinds up in price. And when XRP moves, we have basically two parabolic runs in really short periods of time, there and there, which are like, what, a week? The actual time frame on it is what, 15 days, and you moved most of your moves in those 250. So you got two 15-day periods, and you've moved 6,900% in the first one, and 1,300% ish in the second. And the rest of the time you're grinding literally sideways and downwards. Whereas for Bitcoin, it's an easier chart to follow or hodl because the grind is slowly ascending from August 2015 all the way up towards December 2017, we've basically got positive price action for that whole time. Whereas if you're an XRP holder and you bought like here, you'd be making a big loss. If you bought this spike on the first spike, like you're buying in here, you're 60% down on your money for more than 20 days, because that's not accurate. Whereas if you bought Bitcoin spike like here, for example, you're 10% down on your money for 3 days. So in terms of sentiment and like how people feel about charts, the easy asset to hold here is Bitcoin. It makes 3,500% over 400 days, but not often in this period are you massively down on your capital compared to XRP, for example, which again, like if you bought the top of this spike, which a lot of people would have done, you could be sitting 69% down on your money after 76 days and just continue to stay around 40%-ish down on your money, between 31 and 40% down on your money for 212 days before having another parabolic rise. And this is a point that I'm really trying to draw to, is like XRP is an asset that causes extreme pain for people and then has parabolic movements. We're yet to see a parabolic movement in this bull run, but you have to presume that one is going to come. Whether that, and the point that I made in the first place was about the XRP, the Ripple SEC lawsuit. We can't say that that lawsuit is affecting this price, because you can already see there, it wasn't under a lawsuit during this period, it wasn't under a lawsuit during this period. In fact, it was harder to get hold of, there was less utility. There's loads of different things that we are going to talk about later on this live, but we're just on price action right now, and that's the first point that I really wanted to make. I know that I went off on a bit of a tangent there, and it didn't really link together that well, but I'm just trying to prove to you guys that it's a hard asset to hold. It's a hard asset to hold. I'm not disputing that. You can spend a lot of time, even in those bull runs where we moved 64,000%, there was a 212-day period where if you bought on one of the first spikes, you would have been between 30 and 60% underwater for up to 200 days. But with hindsight, you can then look back on it and think, okay, well, actually, we moved 64,000% if you obviously got in at the bottom. Or if you got in here at the top, at the very top, which I know a lot of people will do because that's when the euphoria and the hype of the market is in, you still will make this much percentage here, which is 700%, but for 210 days, you're underwater 30 to 60%. So it's a hard asset to hold. It's a hard asset to hold is the point that I'm making. So you got to expect that, and you got to understand that if you are getting involved with this asset specifically. So now enough about XRP price action. I was going to see if there's any questions about that. Thank you for the golden mics, guys. I'm live over on YouTube, so if you want to see the charts, have a look over there. Let's have a look what you guys are talking about here on YouTube. Let's have a look. Do I think B. Kelly secretly owns a bag of XRP? Maybe Pedro. Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Dash, Zcash haven't broken all-time highs. Exactly, Mark. That's the point that I'm trying to make about the all-time highs, is that we can only work with technical analysis of proof of past. That's what it is. It's proof and history. We don't have any proof to suggest that this case is holding the price of XRP down. We don't. We can assume that. We can zoom in at this point here and we can say, look, this is where the SEC case was filed. This is where it got delisted from exchanges. So you can point at a specific moment in time where it did have an impact on the price. But we also then rallied to what? $2? $2. And when have we done that in history? Anywhere here? Anywhere here? And in any of these periods where we under a lawsuit with the SEC. So for this whole period here, let's go even from here. For this whole period, all of this, for 1,055 days, we were not above $2. And at none of that point were we in an SEC lawsuit. None of it. And then, yes, the SEC lawsuit comes in. And then, so what did I say? 1,055 days, let's say. And we're under the SEC suit for 110 days until we break out of that range. Let's say 120 days. And all of a sudden, we're at $2. So there's probably just as much logic if you look through history, and if you don't compare this to any other crypto chart, there's just as much logic to say, actually, we performed better while we're under the SEC lawsuit than we did for the previous 1,055 days. There's logic to say that. But obviously then you can take into consideration that other cryptos are moving. Bitcoin in that time period from, let's say, where did the SEC lawsuit come in? Let's say 20th, 21st of December. In that time period, Bitcoin moved up 200% as well. So XRP actually moved in tune with the market. We just had the dump to start with. So that's enough about that for now. I'm just trying to prove that the correlation is not provable. And as Mark rightly said, there's a lot of cryptos in the space at the minute that haven't also broken their all-time high. So we'll get into this now because I think it leads on pretty well. But what can we look for things that might positively affect the price of XRP? So we're on John Deason's Twitter feed here. There's a lot on here. I was going to scroll through a few things, but what we're just going to do is talk about some of the things I've got written down on. I was looking for, this is the thing I was looking for actually. Some of the things I've got written down on my whiteboard, and the main thing I was looking for is that John Deaton made a point about midterm elections in the US. Midterm elections in the US are coming up. I don't know when they are. Is it like September, October time, or maybe before that? I'm unsure. So if anyone can clarify that in any of the chats, that'd be great. But if midterms come through and we get a flip in the Senate, I think this is forget my terminology here because obviously I'm not American, so it's hard for me. But if midterms come through and we flip the House and the Senate, then basically the point I'm trying to make is 25% of Americans hold cryptocurrency. So people who come into power now are going to be people who are crypto friendly. Makes sense because 25% of the people voting them in are going to want crypto-friendly regulations. If they then come into Congress or the Senate and they are going to put pressure on someone like Gary Gensler, who is not being friendly towards cryptocurrencies, that just makes sense. If that happens, will we see some sort of resolution in the XRP case come faster? I don't know. We know that 68,000 XRP holders are being represented by John Deaton that have not been addressed by the SEC, and I find that a bit bizarre, to be honest, but again, that's politics, it's nothing to do with me. But I find it a bit bizarre, but that has some weight behind it and will have some pressure. It will have pressure in midterm elections, but it's also going to have pressure on Gary Gensler himself. So there are things to take into consideration. So next, what else have we got? Obviously, something else that could push up the price of XRP is the potential of a settlement. A settlement could come at any point. Maybe with this new twist from the lawsuit, with the dates being pushed out further, we may have twisted Ripple's arm for a settlement. Apparently it's costing around $2 million per month just in legal fees. Then you've got to put on top of that it's going to be costing Ripple, they can't do business in America, so it's going to be costing them all that business as well. So there is a lot of pressure on Ripple to settle this case. Whether Brad Garlinghouse says he will take it to trial or not, there's a lot of pressure on them to settle this case financially. So that's another thing to throw into the equation here. And sorry, I feel like my thoughts aren't linking together very well, but it's because I'm feeling ill. But I just wanted to, I've got Lemsip there in the cup, so just wanted to come on, share you all my thoughts. There's so much going on at the minute, guys. So what else have we got? We've talked about previous price action. We've talked about midterm elections. I've got them all written on my whiteboard up there, that's why I'm looking over there. We've talked about settlement. We haven't talked about the American EO and regulation, which is the executive order, obviously, from Joe Biden. The executive order has basically said that they want to accept crypto. They want to accept it as a financial asset going forward, as a financial tool. And will we see some sort of collaboration between the SEC and the CFTC? Could that affect the Ripple lawsuit? Who knows in regards to that? That's another thing to take into consideration. We've got Flare Networks coming out. They're being audited at the minute. If they pass that audit, they will launch Flare Networks on the 4th of July. That audit is basically assessing the code of Flare Networks to make sure there's no bugs in there, etc. Flare Networks is DeFi for the XRP ledger. It's going to bring a safe and decentralized way for the XRP ledger to be able to move across chain, so you have smart contracts, and that way you can earn like yield, etc. on your XRP. that could be an amazing thing for XRP. It might mean that a lot of the supply gets locked up, which means that there's less supply, obviously meaning that you need less demand to move the price upwards. People might be holding it because they might want to stake and get rewards. All these sorts of things that you've got to think will add positive pressure to the XRP price, coupled up with the fact that we've had the worst news ever for XRP in terms of what people weren't expecting, and the attorneys saying the worst news ever, and we haven't capitulated, shows me we are in and around a bottom here. You normally get these pieces of news when you're at a bottom. You don't get horrific news like this at a top. You get really positive news at a top because people are trying to sell into that top and keep the hype going, and you get negative news at the bottom because people are trying to buy at a low price as you can and capitulate the retail investor. And that's why you see bad news at bottoms and good news at tops. Again, reiterating what Bearable Bull says, bull runs do not end in fear, they end in euphoria. So there's another thing. So now we're going to go over, we've had settlement potentially, we've got midterm elections, we've got EO and regulation, we've got previous price action that we've talked about in regards to that not being an indicator, the SEC suit not being a potential indicator of whether the price can break all-time high or not. Adoption. We've got Ripple's Liquidity Hub being launched, which is basically going to be an aggregator for all crypto exchanges, for institutions, small businesses, and people to go and basically use like a comparethemarket.com to find the best prices of crypto. So you're going to be able to go onto Ripple's Liquidity Hub site, and it's going to find you and provide the best prices for any crypto from any exchange, because the XRP ledger is a decentralized exchange. They're just building a user interface to be able to compare all those prices and give you instant liquidity on that. That's more utility for XRP. We're seeing corridors being announced left, right, and center for ODL, which specifically leverages XRP. We saw Susan Friedman say on her podcast the other day that I talked about on my YouTube channel that Bhutan and Palau were the two countries they've announced, were the words that she used, of countries that are building on the XRP ledger. We've seen the UK come out and say they're going to move their government debt, or explore moving government debt onto DLTs, distributed ledger technology. Ripple is the first DLT company and XRP as an asset to pass the ISO 2022 regulations 2022. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together there and making 4, but it might not make that. We don't know yet. But again, we're just throwing some ideas out there as to what is positive still about XRP specifically, because we're seeing a lot of negative news, and I can understand why people are negative. And believe me, when I say my net worth's in there, so I feel it the same as you, but I also understand everything that's going on in the background. I understand the volatility of these markets, and I also understand that the opportunity is now. The opportunity is now. We could depreciate in price more, obviously, but the risk to reward, and I keep banging on about this, the risk to reward is so good. It's so good for any top 100 asset, let alone top 10 in XRP right now. So what else do we have? We could have an F the SEC pump. Elon Musk is hating the SEC right now. He's coming through with Twitter. He's doing all kinds of madness. He likes crypto. Yes, he likes Doge and talks about Doge often. What's to stop him from picking up the phone to Brad Gardenhouse and doing something along those lines? Obviously, that's way more speculative, but it's still a possibility there. And yeah, finally, the last one would be just that people who are going to sell XRP, in my opinion, have already sold. They've already sold. So they're the things about XRP that I really wanted to draw on in this live. And now we're just going to get into a little look at this video here. We're going to talk about... This is Data Dash on YouTube, guys. He's a good... Like, how do I describe him? He talks mainly about Bitcoin, sometimes about Ethereum, technical analysis, but he also talks about the markets in general. I just quickly want to check my Streamlabs and make sure my audio is just on for, this, because boom, just do that. Just listen to what he's got to say here, because it's very interesting. He's showing the correlation between equities and Bitcoin, and basically saying, I'll let him do the talking, but basically saying for guys on TikTok over there, he's saying that when Bitcoin and equities pump, Bitcoin outperforms equities, and when Bitcoin and equities dump, they normally move correlated, but Bitcoin is dumping at a slower rate than equities are in terms of multipliers. So we'll get into this little clip now, we'll watch it, and then we'll discuss that.
This is a chart that I feel practically no one is talking about in the space right now. And that is Bitcoin divided by any of the major indices, from the NASDAQ to the S&P 500. Take a look at this chart here. Now, you all would probably assume, and I honestly would probably be in the same ballpark with all of you in this case, that if we're in a bull market for assets, if equities are ripping higher, if the Fed is engaging in quantitative easing, making funny money flow into the economy, you would expect that not only equities would go up, stocks in this case, but that crypto would probably accelerate beyond that, that it would do 2 or 3x what equities are doing, as it's a more niche, smaller asset class, it has more room for growth multiples, and it is a new emerging asset class, and vice versa. Because it's seen as this more kind of high-risk asset, at least in most people's perception, if equities were to pull back, if the Fed engaged in quantitative tightening, we should expect crypto to sell off 2 or 3 times harder, that we should start seeing it break down in the ratio against equities. It should be underperforming equities, but it's not doing this. Take a look at the chart here. Since back here in December of 2020.
See, I think this is a very interesting point that he's drawing on here. This is what I really wanted you guys to focus on. Is he's showing you this consolidating. This is a very clear bull pennant here. That over time, Bitcoin is outperforming equities. And everyone's saying it's correlated, but how can it be correlated if it's outperforming? And at some point, we hope that it will not correlate. It correlates a little, but it's a positive correlation. And at some point, it will break away from that correlation is the point that he's going to make here.
The ratio has continuously made healthy highs each and every time. To put this into perspective, from the previous low here back in November, December to the new low, there's a 48% increase in the ratio. Bitcoin outpaced equities by 48%. Now, they could be both going down in that period of time.
So he's saying over that space of 240 days, Bitcoin outperformed equities by 48%.
I'm not going to stretch on that truth. That's important to note. They could still both be going down, but it is outperforming equities by 48%, meaning that equities may be selling off or not holding up 48% better than crypto. Take a look here from this low here, 27% increase.
And then from the next low to the low that was put in after that was 194 days, and it outperformed equities by a further 27%.
Just a matter, a little under half a year here. And we are seeing this trend not materialize just over the long-term trend, but continuously. In fact, we're starting to break away from the support line here upwards. Even as equities are in an absolute panic mode, Bitcoin's price is holding up quite nicely.
So that's the clip that I wanted to show you guys. I think that's very important to take into consideration. Everyone's worried about Bitcoin being tied to the price of equities. And maybe it does have some correlation, but at some point will it break out of that trend? And with that wedge that he was showing you there, it's not even come down to test the bottom of the wedge again, and we're starting to move back up. So we may break out against equities, meaning that if we do have some kind of stock market crash, people are going to want to put their money somewhere. Maybe they put it into crypto. Maybe that's what the charts are indicating. Again, it's speculation, guys, but the whole market is speculation. So it is something to definitely keep on your radar. Look at how Bitcoin's performing in terms of equities in general. Then we had this from Dennis Porter. Just in, Chinese yuan is in free fall against the US dollar, and we'll have a little look at that chart right now. So this is the dollar against the yuan. As you can see, the dollar is up on the daily. In the last 7 days, 6 days, we have spiked up 3.5% or 3.23% in the last 6 days to the current price. That takes us higher than where we were all the way back to April 2021. Why is this happening? Well, honestly, my geopolitics and macroeconomics isn't great. It's probably to do with supply chain issues, but also there's a correlation between the Japanese yuan and the US dollar. And the US dollar's obviously been ripping against the yuan as well because of their 10-year treasuries have been in a bit of sticky situation, and looks like I had, from when I was trading Forex, a bit of a descending channel drawn in here, and when it broke out, the dollar has now gained so much strength against the yuan. The dollar, since 7th of March, the dollar has gained 11% against the yuan. Consolidating again in a bull flag. They'll probably look to continue higher unless the central bank of Japan come out and change their stance on protecting 10-year treasuries. But everyone's in a sticky situation, guys. It leads to, we've got a problem, obviously. And what's the solution to the problem? Well, this is where this could actually play a part. Breaking news again from Dennis Porter. The Central African Republic has unanimously passed a bill to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. And the source from Forbes says, Unganongo, I hope that's how you say it because I'm awful with pronunciation, initiated and submitted the draft law establishing both a legal framework for cryptocurrency regulation and Bitcoin as official currency in the Central African Republic. The application of the legal tender implies the acceptance of cryptocurrencies as a legal means of payment established through specific legislation. With cryptocurrencies, the Central African Republic is moving towards a new avant-garde path of development and economic performance, a dynamic field which is popular among investors around the world, ever-present and fully fledged assets in the portfolios of the world's largest financial players. So another country here adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. This could be massive, obviously, going forward for crypto. In regards to that as well, we've got to remember that there are 2 spot Bitcoin ETFs being launched in Australia on Wednesday. They're looking to tie up, one of them is looking to tie up $1 billion in an ETF. This takes $1 billion from the liquid supply of Bitcoin out of that liquid supply, making it illiquid, meaning that you need less demand to push that price up further. Definitely something to take into consideration, guys. Are we having this drop today in crypto? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with stocks and shares or equities. The DXY is gaining strength. That's gaining strength against the yuan, etc., and the yen. But are we seeing this drop in Bitcoin? Because we know institutions are coming in on Wednesday and they're trying to push the price down because they know they've got to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on Wednesday. It's definitely feasible. It's definitely possible. We know that there's manipulation in the market. It's a small asset class. Could be because we know there's not a lot of sentiment in the market at the minute. It doesn't take much to move the price either way. So people dumping the price today could be in preparation for a big pump around Wednesday when they've got to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Again, speculation, but something to take into consideration. And then we've got Twitter in talks to strike a deal with Elon Musk early this week, said the Wall Street Journal. Is that going to bring any kind of positivity to the crypto space, guys? We know Elon's massively into crypto. Is he going to use crypto as a payment rail? Is he going to promote using crypto on Twitter? We don't know what Elon's got planned, but again, something to keep your eye on there. And I think that's probably about all the topics I wanted to talk about today in my live. I hope that this has been helpful for everybody. I'm sorry that my thoughts have been a bit like jumbled up because I don't feel 100%. But I hope I got the main points across because I know there's loads going on in the crypto space at the minute. I just wanted to share with you everything that I was feeling right now. DXY is very strong at the minute. This will reverse back. Yeah, so that's one last thing. Okay, we'll touch on that. It's a great point, Mark. So one thing that I have taken and been looking at recently is obviously we've got a lot of resistance here. We've managed to break through that on the DXY. The DXY is up near as high as it can get, basically, in terms of RSI. Yes, we have been higher than this before. We've been all the way up to these regions here, which is 82. We're currently at 69. So we haven't got far to go to be reaching our very top in terms of being overbought for the DXY. And there is this resistance that has never been broken through, by the way. Let's have a look. This resistance here, or has been broken through, absolutely tell a lie. It's not been broken through because I haven't even looked back this far. But it hasn't been broken through since 2017. The dollar strength has never got above 103. And we're currently at 101. with this descending trend line below, coming down here, we would be testing that at 102.312 or 102, to be accurate, 102.447. And that's where I'd be looking for a bit of a cool off in the DXY. So we may push further. But as Real Vision say, the dollar's not necessarily strong. It's just the best choice of a dirty shirt at the minute because a lot of other currencies are weak. We've got the political issues with the wars. Could we see more developments there? Definitely. We could see supply chain breakdowns from China because of C19 variants coming back in, lockdowns in Shanghai. Are we going to have lockdowns in Beijing? Let's talk about that this morning. We don't know what is happening in the world, but one thing is the dollar is in a very tricky situation. Yes, the DXY is pumping, but that's because other currencies are dumping. And guys, as I keep saying to you, nothing heads up in a straight line. It doesn't. You can have a look at all these previous pushes. Look, the DXY has a big push up and then it cools off for a long while. Like, let's say it pushes up here it moves up 22% in a year, in 266 days, sorry. And then what? We crab sideways and downwards for the DXY until it sets a higher high for another 600 days. So we've moved up now from the bottom. 10% in 300 days. Could we move further? Yes, but are we more likely to have a retrace or a sideways crabbing movement after that quite violent push upwards? I think so. I personally think so. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I think we are going to have some kind of retracement in the DXY at some point. Maybe it comes up at like 102 sort of range that I was looking at, 102.44. Who knows? Trying to time that exact top is hard when we've got all these geopolitical events happening at the minute. We don't know what the Fed are going to come out and do. They're in a very tricky position as well. So they're all things that I'll be keeping your eye on. All I will say to finish this video is, if you're a long-term holder, accumulation ranges in and around here for most crypto assets are looking pretty good, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, but when are you being seen or offered this opportunity? We know that longer term, we're looking at growth curves, we're looking at network adoption. Crypto is coming and it's here to stay. We know that regulators are going to be having their policies out by the end of the year. We know that it's going to bring in at some level financial money into the space. It's only going to go up long term. So if you can get in at prices in around here, in my opinion, it's got to be good. It's got to be good. But with that being said, guys, thank you all for tuning in to my live. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace up, A-Town down, as Usher would say.